All right. I want to talk about Ezekiel 38 and Ezekiel 39. A lot of people, there's like this a lot of misinformation about Ezekiel 38 and Ezekiel 39. All right. Ezekiel 38 has nothing to do with what's going to happen right now. All right. This is in the future. This this is the war that takes place at the end of the millennium. Okay, at the end of the 1,000-year reign of Christ. And the reason we know that is because when you read Ezekiel 38, pay attention to the wording. It talks about how the children of Israel, all 12 tribes, not just two or three, all right? Sorry, allergies. All 12 tribes are brought back into the land. Okay, and they're living there in peace. So much peace and prosperity that they don't have to lock up their houses. Their city doesn't need to be guarded. They don't even have a wall around their village, around their city, around their towns. Okay? So that right there lets you know they're living in a time of unprecedented peace. And that right there lets you know that we're talking about the millennium. That is the only time that in history that you will have those kind of conditions. Because during the millennial reign of Christ, there will be nothing but peace. Okay? The modern state of Israel has never lived in peace, anything close to that. Okay? The modern state of Israel, it's a secular state. God did not bring them back. It is not prophetic. That's not what the scripture was. The 1948 was not the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Okay? Now, you go to Ezekiel 39. In Ezekiel 39, it's a completely different scenario. It's talking about what's going to take place at the Battle of Armageddon. Okay? And when you read Ezekiel 39 and you read Revelation chapter 19, they're almost word for word, all right? They're describing the same events. They're describing what takes place at the end of the age as Messiah gets ready to come back and bring this whole thing to an end before he sets up his 1,000-year reign on earth, okay? It's Armageddon, okay? And it talks about how there's so many dead bodies on the mountains of Israel that God is going to call a great feast to the birds, to the fowls of the air. Okay? Now, what may throw people off is the fact that you have an individual in both chapters that God refers to as Gog. Well, pay attention to what Gog is referred to. He's referred to as the chief prince. That's a principality. That lets you know you're dealing with a supernatural being, entity. He's the chief prince. Okay, we're not dealing with a human being. Well, you may have an individual that I'm sure he's probably working through, but you're dealing with a principality, and we learn about principalities in the book of Daniel, because Daniel mentions three princes who are all principalities, who are supernatural entities. You have the prince of Persia, you have the prince of Greece, and Israel had their own prince. Okay, so these are principalities. Well, in Ezekiel 38, guess what? You also have an individual referred to as Gog. Okay, you're also dealing with a principality. Here's what you have. In Ezekiel 39, at the end of the age, when Christ comes back and he defeats the nations at the Battle of Armageddon, all the nations are going to be gathered together to fight against him. The world will be united under a world government. And they're going to unite and they're going to try to defeat God, keep him from taking over. God is going to decimate them in their armies, okay? He's also going to defeat the principality referred to as Gog, all right, who happens to be the chief prince of the people or the nation of, these are European nations, Gog and Magog. I'm sorry, not Gog and Magog, Meshach and Tubal, okay? He's going to be, but anyway. Now, some people believe that this chief prince may actually be Satan himself. But whether he's Satan or not, he's going to be locked away. They're going to be put in the bottomless pit. Now, this is according to Revelation chapter 20. And they're going to be put away for 1,000 years. And that's why that's one of the reasons why you're going to have so much peace, why you're going to have peace on the earth. Because you're not going to have demonic, you're not going to have fallen angels influencing and creating havoc. Okay? But after the 1,000-year period is up, then the devil's going to be released. And this individual is going to go back out, and he's going to start one final rebellion that will take place at the end of the millennium. And this is what you have in Ezekiel 38. This is also confirmed in Revelation chapter 20. Okay, so these two chapters, they're totally different. They take place 1,000 years apart. And the only thing that links them is this supernatural entity that is a principality that is referred to as Gog.